Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Ammar Elm, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to be joined by Marcus Chan,
Okay.
founder and CEO of Venli Consulting Group, a sales systems powerhouse that has helped over 700 clients close over $950 million in revenue. As a Wall Street Journal bestselling author and a four-time Salesforce top sales influencer, Marcus brings a disciplined, empathy-driven methodology to help reps earn 250 to 500,000 and lift team win rates by 25% or more. Marcus, welcome to Founders Future.
What's up, man? Pumped to be here.
I'm excited to have you, brother. I always like to start from the beginning. So take us on a little trip down memory lane to before you started Venli Consulting. What were you doing at the time? And then what was really the motivation behind starting the company?
Yeah, 100%. First of all, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. Never wanted to have my own business. My parents were entrepreneurs, small time. They had a restaurant. So I thought entrepreneurship was basically like restaurant life, which was you're working like 18-hour days. You don't take vacations. You don't make very much money. I'm like, that looks awful. When I graduated college, I didn't know what I was going to do. So I jumped headfirst into B2B sales. Didn't really know where it'd take me. Ended up staying in that career for 14 years. Worked for two
Wow.
major Fortune 500 companies. Was pretty fortunate. First, I started off and I was terrible, almost got fired. But then once I figured it out, started having some success, I kept in my career. And in my first 8 years, promoted 12 times in my first 8 years. And it was pretty cool. I got to a point where I was running 110-person sales force, right? We did about 200 million a year in sales and had a lot of fun doing that. Won every award, hit number one in every single role, did all that. That was great. And this is about probably a decade ago where I was like, I started feeling an itch to do something more. And I didn't know what it was, right? And first off, I was like, where do, if I can provide more value, how can I provide more value to the marketplace? What do people ask me a lot of questions on? And most of the time, because I also ran a sales org, people seem to ask me a lot of questions that were obvious sales things I thought they should know. And even though we had a good training program at the company that I put together and all that stuff, it was just stuff I was like surprised that people didn't know. Even top performers from other companies, we bring them in and sometimes they couldn't repeat success. So I realized I'm like, I have to like train them a certain way. So I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, you know what? I wonder if I could help other people with this too. And at the time, I started to dabble a little bit in terms of online businesses. This is like 2015 or so. This is before like everyone and the mother had an online business, right? So like
Yeah.
back then, a little bit harder. You had to like be in that world, like the Tim Ferriss world, if you will.
Yep.
And I learned how to make a lead magnet or a paid lead magnet, like a $10 ebook, which was like mind blowing at the time because I didn't know how to create a landing page, do any of those things. So
Yeah.
to have someone like give me money on the internet was really strange because before I was so used to having literally live sales calls in person, right? Working complex deals, working multiple stakeholders, closing multi-million dollars. I was used to like working with people to do it, not like putting a
Face to
landing
face.
page up and someone just giving me money. Very strange. So that then led into, I'm like, what could I create that's bigger than a $10 ebook? I'm like, people ask me a lot about sales. I built a B2B sales course. And this is
Mm.
before there was really a thing. Like it was not common at all. There was a lot of B2C sales courses, but nothing
Yep.
for B2B, like complex B2B, or even for SMB, mid-market enterprise. So I'm like, let me just create what I wish I had. The A to Z playbook from how you should run your routine to how you should prospect to how you generate pipeline to how you close, how you manage multiple stakeholders, et cetera. So I'm like, okay, let me just go create this. It took me actually a couple of years to build the course out because at the time, again, it wasn't easy to build a course. So I had to like figure out all these different tools to use. Loom wasn't a thing. I mean, there was like it was a different time a different world at the time. Anyways, I had bought a program to figure out how to do that. It took me 2 years because I was still working full time. So I was traveling a lot. I was in a hotel room probably 100 plus nights a year. I had a big sales org traveling around. And so in my free time, I would build this thing. And then I remember launching it. And this is like about, I had like no real audience. It was like, I don't know, a couple thousand Instagram followers maybe. And I'm like, let me just put it out there and see what happens, right? Put it out there. Woke up, made 2K overnight. I'm like, oh, it's interesting. That's kind of interesting.
Not
This
bad.
online course thing. Exactly. Because again, like
Yeah.
it seemed like a big upgrade from $10 sale to $1,000 sale. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is with no real traffic, no real anything. And then from there, I was like, you know what? I think it's time. I got to make a move and do my own thing. at that point, I'm like, okay, like I got to plan my exit. So eventually planned my exit like 9 months out because I had a bunch of stock I was going to invest. We had what's called President's Club, which is a big award for the very top elite. They send you to like Cancun, it's all expenses paid, 5-star resort. I want to
Yeah.
wait for that to happen to go on my trip again, right? And then get my stock and cash out. So I wait for all that to happen, which is about 9 months. Then I cash out, went all in my business. And then since then, it's been almost 6 years now. It's been a crazy journey. The offer has changed a million times, as you can
Yeah.
imagine. The business
Yeah.
has changed a million times over time, but it's been a cool journey going into it, and it's been a lot of fun for
Yeah.
sure.
I love that. Thank you so much for breaking that down. And I'm super interested in the pivotal moments where people really have some sort of shift, either internally, mentally, identity-wise.
Yeah,
And there's two that I would like to for you to elaborate more on. So one, you mentioned you almost got fired,
yeah.
but then you made some sort of change,
Oh yeah.
and you were the number one guy, 110-person sales force managing hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. So walk me through what changed from going from almost being let go to
Yeah.
being the number one guy.
I think that the first piece was, so this happened during August 2007. So the
Yeah.
economy started getting really bad. Businesses were shutting down, unemployment was going up. And literally, I remember the exact moment. I was about 7 weeks into my job. I was not performing already. I was working my ass off, by the way. So I like outworked everybody.
Yeah.
So it was very much, hey, make 100 calls a day, walk, pound the pavement, go outside, walk into businesses, right? Cold call all of them. It was like purely activity driven. I outworked everybody because I knew I could work hard. I'm like, I can outwork anybody. And wasn't getting results. And 7 weeks in, my boss pulls me in Friday, 4 p.m., never a good sign, and said, basically, I'm going to fire you if you don't turn this around. And at that point, I realized I only had a couple options. Number one, I could blame him, which I've been doing. I've been blaming my boss. I blamed the economy. I blamed my prospects. I blamed that nobody helped me. Blamed my company. I could do that, but I knew if I just did that, I would just get fired. That wasn't going to change my situation. Or option number two, I could figure it out. And so I figured, I'm like, I better figure this out. And also because I didn't want to quit my job because I was very worried I couldn't get another job because it was really hard to get a job at the time. I have no real skills outside of working in a restaurant. I didn't want to move back home with my parents. I was in a serious relationship. I'm like, there's a lot of at stake here. I'm trying to be an adult right now. I decided to go all in on myself. So I literally started, I was obsessively reading any sales book I can get. I started investing into like programs like coaches and masterminds and programs before this was like a thing as it is today. All
It
right.
was back in 2007.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're
Like
an
I was,
OG.
oh yeah, I was going to like Tony Robbins conferences. I was like just taking whatever dollar I had to throw in to become
Good
the
for
best
you.
version of me. But it was very much a burn the boat situation which was like, I need to make this work. I need to figure this out.
Yeah.
And it's like the first step, which was like acknowledging that I was failing,
Mm,
acknowledging that I had a problem. That was like the first stage. It's almost like a 12-step program for alcoholics or anything else like that. I had to acknowledge I had a problem.
yeah.
And I'm like, this is my fault, is my responsibility. So I took full ownership and I went all in. That's all I did. And it wasn't like overnight suddenly. It was like it started building up over time. But I started to realize I had many skill gaps. I had intelligence gaps, I had skill gaps that I had to fill. And then
Yeah.
the best cheat codes is literally learning from people who've already been to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of mental rewiring that had to happen. But that's why
Yeah.
over the years, I spent a few $100,000 now over the years just in coaches and masterminds and programs because I realized it's a cheat code. It's a cheat code for everything in life. You want to become better at tennis? Get a coach. You want to be better at golf? Get a coach. You want to be better at chess? Get a coach. It's like
Yeah.
the fastest way to accelerate your learning.
Yeah. I love that so much. And I love how you mentioned you realize there's a skill gap and a skill
Yeah,
deficiency
that's
as
right.
opposed to there's something wrong with me
That's right.
in terms of who I am as a person. Because I think
Right.
a lot of times when people are going through difficult times, and I think this is indicative of an amazing growth mindset, is that they can't separate like this. I'm not the type of person that can do this, or I just have a skill gap and I just need to close
That's
that
it.
gap.
That's exactly it.
I love that. Let's fast forward to when you first started Venli Consulting. I would
Mhm.
love to know what the first iteration of the offer was, and then we can fast forward to today and what it looks
Yeah. So the very first offer was literally just an online course. That's all it was. 997. Like literally the way I would sell, like I figured out my selling strategy was literally run live webinars, right? It would be
like.
like drive a bunch of registrations on LinkedIn, get people to sign up to a webinar, teach, make a pitch at the end, close, get a bunch of cash, rinse and repeat every 2 weeks. That was the selling motion. And then what would happen was naturally people would have upsells into reaching out and say, hey, can I get some one-on-one coaching? It just kind of worked out nicely, right? That was like the first iteration. And then I was trying to scale. I started getting burnt out for a few months because it felt like a little bit of hamster wheel. Like literally just like every 2 weeks is like promotion, webinar, pitch, get the cash, start over. And it's nonstop. So I tried to figure out how to automate it. So I actually joined a coaching program. Strange. Yeah.
Nice.
Joined a coaching program to try to learn how to automate it. And that's when I really learned about how to even restructure my offer into a group coaching model as well, which is obviously far more scalable and higher ticket. That was the other thing as well. I paid 10K, joined this other coaching program, learn how to basically restructure a better offer, but also create an automated webinar to book high ticket calls.
Nice.
Very simple. Drive lead traffic, videos, VSL, book a call, sequence on the back end, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
So not buy the 997 at the end,
Yeah.
book the call, and then
That's right. We got rid of course only and went just only group coaching. And that was actually a big transformation for the business in the sense of obviously it's a way bigger ticket, but on top of that, it actually was a little bit easier for me in the sense of I'm familiar with sales calls. I've done sales my whole life. So trying to do the whole, like even the automated webinar, like having these crazy back-end sequences, like if they do this, then this automation does that, and all these retargeting like ads and all these things. I was like, that's too complex for what I want to do. Like I'm more comfortable getting on a call because I can hear the objections, I can deal with it, we can close them, and they feel happy too. But also we found was better results because they're also paying more and more serious clients and
100%.
students. So they got way better results, which is really great. So that was just amazing from a back-end perspective. Because I mean, the online course, you maybe have 15% completion rate, but like with the high ticket coaching, like people are paying at that point, it was like 5K, they would get amazing results, right? Almost every person that came in. It was awesome. And then that offer eventually has evolved over time because of just what people wanted, et cetera. It's like the price points have increased over time. And we added more support in different ways because of what they need. Because this market, what was interesting was I was trying to merge a few different like worlds together. This internet marketing world with this B2B sales world together. So it was actually, it's so like this internet marketing world is kind of already from the Dan Lok, high ticket closing, et cetera. And there's just certain things I couldn't do with this other world of these are like, they're selling complex deals. They're working for companies like Salesforce, Microsoft, Google. And if we try to apply those principles, it really turned them off. They were just like already really skeptical. So plus it was a refinement offer. It wasn't a biz op. So they're already a little skeptical already. We had to evolve the offer over time to just better fit that specific buyer.
100%. It sounds, and I think this is a learning lesson that people can take away, is that you are listening to the needs of your market, your ideal customer, and then evolving with that and shifting so you can provide more value.
That's right.
So let's give the listeners a little bit more context into today, what Venli Consulting looks like.
Yeah, great question. So it's interesting. So even at the time of us talking right now, we literally just made a huge pivot.
Okay.
And we actually completely shut down that part of that business.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is the cool part, right? So this is gonna be a fun conversation, right? So I'll kind of walk you through a little bit, right? So I have to give you a little context so it makes sense because this is actually, to be quite frank, very scary for me, right? This is a good, solid 7-figure business. I'm like, we're gonna cut it, we're shutting it down, right? Very scary, right? And ultimately, so when I first started the business, there's a reason why I actually went towards individuals. Like these are individual account executives working for other tech companies. And I remember like before I did this, or when I did this, a lot of people were like, hey, why aren't you just working with companies? Like you ran a big org, you ran a big P&L, like why don't you just work with companies? And I say, hey, listen, here's why I don't want to work with them is I remember sitting in some of these workshops and they bring trainers in. We pay them a bunch of money. Let's say we have 200 people in there. I knew 10% would pay attention and they get results amazing. The 20% would say that sounds really good. And they may or may not do anything. And the other 70 didn't even want to be there. They're showing up like hungover. They didn't want to be there. I'm like, I don't want to be that guy who creates a company to just do those type of workshops and trainings because that's not making a real impact. I'll actually want to impact past version of Marcus who struggled. So it was an emotional decision. I'm like, I want to help that person. And I was like, on top of that, I didn't know of what kind of offer I can create that would actually create an impact on an organization that would be lasting. Outside of a workshop just wouldn't work because as HubSpot has shown, the data shows basically 90% of sales training is forgotten after 120 days.
Crazy.
So it's pretty wild. So I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. So what was really interesting was, so as I was building this business the first several years, just because of, so heavily organic driven, right? So like we're posting a lot on LinkedIn. We get a lot of inbound traffic and leads from that. And because our content was really geared towards AEs or reps who are struggling, who needed help with different sales processes and structure, we would just by a default get also leaders who also wanted to get help with their team. And I actually would turn down most of them. I'll be like, nope, can't do it. We don't do it. You can go talk to this person. We don't do workshops. A couple of years ago, and we would get some, it wasn't like a ton. We get 1 or 2 leads maybe a month, right? People like, hey,
Yeah.
I've been following you now. Can you help my team? And I remember it was a couple of years ago where I had a little bit of an epiphany. It was a transition moment where one of the leaders who's been following me for a while. He said, hey, listen, Marcus, listen, like I've been following you for like several years now. I literally take your stuff that's free online and I give it to my team. They do it and they get better results.
Wow.
What could you create for my team? It's not a big team. It's like a 7-person team. He's, what could you build for me as a program or offer that we could do together? I want to pay you money, basically. I'm like, that's interesting. I'm like, I just kind of like literally honestly, I made something. I'm like, listen, like my biggest worry is I don't want to do 1 or 2 workshops they forget. What if we just take them and we just put them in the individual coaching program? I'll give you some other back-end support and like it'll be 50K for your 7 reps. He said, done. Wanted the money.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Easier than you thought. I can
And
imagine.
way than I expected, right?
Yeah.
So that was a couple years ago, right? And then that year we closed like 3 more deals the same way. Basically
Wow.
very similar. I'm like, this is interesting. I think we're onto something. And now to give you some more context, the rep offer had 3 levels. So we had 8K, 10K, and 25K, right?
Yeah.
So that was the offer that we had at the time, right? For the reps, just different levels of support. So I'm like, 50K is a lot more than all those things. You know, like,
Yeah, probably more than those combined.
yeah. And I'm like, and on top of that, there are bigger teams out there, right? What can we do with those teams? Now, here's the really cool part. All those teams got incredible results. They were like blowing their numbers out, like 300% to target, like the best retention employees they've ever seen, just transforming their business. Some of them were like able to raise more money now because of that. Because I mean, they're like maybe a Series A, a Series B company. They're like just, it was wild. I'm like, this is crazy. Like there were teams literally every rep hit their number, which is like it's very hard to do. So I'm like, this is really interesting. So then in 2024 now, so give you a little time context, and I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. So let's start to evolve the offer some more. Let's see, maybe we can like work on this. And I'm like, how can we make it better? And 20, we were still running the B2C offer back last year, and we're trying to evolve and make the offer better and better and better. And I basically was trying to scale that same offer, if you will. And it was interesting because it really didn't do well. And part of it was a couple of learnings, right? Which was, first off, it was like I was trying to basically give them the same offer I was giving the rest of them, which it made sense in some situations, right? But the market started shifting as part of it. But on top of that, let's just say, for example, if I price like per rep. So let's say they have 10 reps. If I did 7K per rep, so it'd be 70K for the offer, right? For maybe a team of 10. I'll say, hey, cool, you offer 70K. This is what they get, etc. This business owner would have this like tough decision to make, which is, do I want all 10 to this program?
Do I want to invest into these reps?
Yeah, exactly. Like 2 are rocks I want to invest for sure.
Yeah.
2 I'm not sure about. And the other ones are really new. Do I want to wait a little bit? So what happened was they would not make a decision.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one thing I started to see. And I'm like, I didn't realize it till now or till like after. But at the moment I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, maybe I need to change the offer some more. Wasn't sure. And then I also would start booking these other bigger accounts. So these were like 50 rep teams, 100 rep teams, and try to offer a somewhat similar model. Okay. Yeah. So the ticket size is like 200, 300, 400 grand. And there's, dude, like this is not going to make sense. I'm trying to push a pilot and all these things. So 2024 was a learning as I was getting market feedback, right? Because the market shifted a little bit because of the economy across the board. And also my offer wasn't really resonating. And what's been very interesting as a tail end, we start to kind of evolve over time, right? Like we start to realize, okay, a lot of them, especially these bigger companies, they know sales training by itself is not good enough. Yeah. I'm like, we have to start doing, and we weren't really marketing it, but it came about as part of the process, which was like, before we started an engagement with them, like a full engagement, we would do a full diagnostic. So like literally we're taking all their pipeline data from the last 18, 24 months. We're analyzing exactly where deals are getting leaked out. And so these are all like, you can imagine these are like, most of them are mid-market enterprise companies. So they're selling deal size are maybe like 50K to millions of dollars, right? Sales cycles can run from low as 60 days to literally 2-year sales cycles. So there's all this, so I'm getting all this data from them, right? And on top of that, analyzing call recordings from the top reps, middle reps, bottom reps, analyzing, working also directly with their sales leaders. I could analyze all that data. I could see all the gaps kind of ran a large org. So we would like, and it became like this became this thing where they're like, this is amazing. Like we actually know, because like we thought we were having this issue, we're actually having this other issue.
Yeah, yeah.
So what was happening before is what these teams would do is they would say, "Oh, we're struggling, so we're going to go in. We're going to go hire a consultant to put in medic mythology into our sales process to better qualify deals," and they think
Mm,
that'll be solve the problem, right? But there's no back end support, and then they solve the core issue, which is like
yeah.
how they're actually maybe it's a qualification issue on the front end, or maybe it's how they do discovery, or maybe it's how they run deal management, maybe it's how they engage with executive stakeholders. So they're missing all these key components as part of it. And also the frontline leaders didn't have the right system for effective management and leadership. So we diagnosed all these things. And that was really, and they'd be blown away. Oh my, this is amazing. So then on top of that, then we're able to say, okay, cool. Here's the solve. Here's going to be the 6-week implementation plan that you can
Yeah.
do yourself, or we can help you with. And they're like, done. It's because
Wow.
now they really knew it's literally being a doc. We're diagnosing first,
Yeah.
we cover what's really going on, and then we give the recommendation.
That's powerful.
That was a realization of how we need to start really leading our offers. So we start really making that pivot, and at that point, I realized at this point, like my attention was going to divert it two different businesses,
Yeah.
B2C, B2B, and I'm like, we're gonna have to do a hard thing. It took me a long. I talked to my buddies who were like great entrepreneurs as well. We're just at the end of the day, it was kind of like you gotta give the good for the great. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, you know what? We're already pretty much capped at enrollment anyways. Let's just do one last push, close out enrollment, which literally happened Friday. Literally just put a bunch of
Nice.
calls, collect a bunch of cash, closed out. We have a couple last calls finalized this week as well.
Yeah.
But now we're like all in on B2B. That's what we're
That's,
100% focused on, right?
that's
And it's been a fun journey so far, but that's been the kind of
yeah.
transition. So now we focus primarily working with organizations that have 25 or more account executives. They're probably doing at least 25 mil a year in sales, just purely their sales team by itself. And we're really helping diagnose their biggest revenue leaks, uncover
Mm,
those gaps are, and then helping them implementation on the back end to actually change the results from a long-term perspective. And the cool
yeah.
part is it actually makes a transformation on their business overall. But from what I get to do for my business, it's a way bigger impact. Way bigger
100%.
impact.
Yeah. You're
100%.
working with 25 reps at a time instead of
Oh yeah.
one. I love that so much. Thank you for breaking that down. And I think that's so powerful what you're doing in terms of diagnosing, really looking at the lay of the land and giving them crystal clear clarity on this is your biggest constraint.
That's
Because
it.
it sounds like a lot of them are working on the wrong constraints or they
That's
don't
all
even
it is.
know what the constraint is. So when somebody like you can come in and have that impact, that's huge. I'm super curious when you think of the future, now that you're all in on the B2B side,
Yeah.
what does that ultimate goal look like for you? Obviously, you've had tremendous success in your career. You could probably just kick back and chill for now if you wanted to, but you don't seem like the type of guy that's going to.
I get bored.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is that next evolution? What does that ultimate goal for Marcus look like?
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a really fun business to run now in a different way to make an impact on a bigger way. And I think from an ultimate goal perspective, like I just want to build something cool that I really enjoy. And yeah, I'll probably eventually get to a point where maybe I'll remove myself from the business and maybe I'll just do. I love like speaking engagements and stuff like that, and I love stuff like that. So it's like I can just keep doing those type of things, and then just kind of just oversee the CEOs going to run everything. That's kind of like maybe the overall goal, but I never really stop. I'm a builder at heart. I like to create and I enjoy it. So I think I'll always do stuff like working with people. I thought through long-term wise, I'm like, okay, model wise, there's a couple different angles we can build with this, right? It could be first, I don't put the cart before the horse, but first is we just get completely dialed, get everything completely dialed, A to Z, run systematic like clockwork. But when I take a look at some of the biggest companies in the world, they're doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year, if not close to billions, in the similar space, but they're very old and antiquated.
Yep.
Many of them have gone to a franchise model, right? That's very much like their business model. So they also will still do it, but then they'll have franchisees in different like cities and states to be able to go serve their local markets. And then obviously it's in the revenue source. And it's a completely different type of business model at that point. I could
Yep.
see it for sure turn into a model like that if I want to go that path. Or it might end up getting acquired because that is also what happens in a very similar space where
Yeah.
consultants create mythologies. Like for example, whether the Challenger Sale or not by Matt Dixon, but really good sales book, and they have a really good mythology, and they got bought out as well. So it's kind of what happens over time with
Yeah.
some of these organizations.
Powerful. I love that. Let me ask you a couple more questions because I know we're running tight on time. If you were speaking to new entrepreneurs, and you could give them a piece of advice that maybe you wish you knew when you were first starting off, or even something that you feel like a lot of people just get wrong, especially
Yeah.
when they're looking to start in the consulting space,
Yeah.
what would that be?
Get help. Get help. It's like
Fair
literally a
enough.
cheat code. That was that's like the number one thing. And I think, and I made the same mistake, by the way. Even though I paid for coaches and masterminds in the past, I remember even when I went all in my business, I tried to do it on my own first. Right. I
Yeah.
tried to do my own. Right. And I was able to figure it out, but I'm like, until I got the coach to transfer my business. But I'm like, I probably could save myself a little bit of time. I waited a little bit longer than I probably should have. And in hindsight, 2020, if there's a better path already, just having someone guide you from the get-go is such a cheat code, such a cheat code. And let's just say, for example, because some people are like, I don't have the money, I don't have the finances, I don't have the whatever. And for sure, you can always argue, yes, go figure it out, find a way. But some people are just in a bad situation. It is what it is. But it's like, okay, go find 1 to 2 people, not 10 people, find 1 to 2 people that you could really trust their content, validate their background on what they have done, seeing what they have actually done, and like just absorb all the free content. Like,
Mm,
don't try to absorb like a million different people. Just pick 1 or 2 key people
yeah.
and go all in on their content. So, because they'll probably have really good YouTube content potentially, or there's books, or there's articles, or there's things they've done, or webinars. Like, so this way, you don't have a million different shiny ideas. You at least have one or two people's like kind of core mythologies follow as a path that's proven. And hopefully get to that point where you can generate enough revenue where you can invest into a coaching program or put yourself in a position where you can go access more capital. So this way you can go into a program that's going to help accelerate your results.
Powerful. And for the people that are looking for your help, that need your help, or are just interested, what's
Mhm.
the best way for them to reach out?
Awesome. You look at Marcus Chan on LinkedIn or go to venliconsulting.com and we'll reach out to you pretty quickly. Speed to lead,
Awesome.
baby.
There you go. Marcus, thank you so much for your time.
It was my pleasure.
So that wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to check out Marcus Chen, Venli Consulting on LinkedIn. Check out his website. And if you're a business owner and you're looking to scale your coaching, consulting business or agency, and you're really looking to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to discover how we can support your growth journey. Until then, keep on climbing.